Hello, Year 6, and welcome to your final reading session at home, hopefully. And today we're going to look at inference questions, which is continuing from what we looked at the other week. We looked at retrieval questions when you were last in school, and then obviously we've moved on to inference now. So the first question, it just says, what is inference? So what do we mean by inference? So inference is a conclusion reached on the basis of evidence and reasoning. In reading, you search for clues in text that tells you, for example, how a character feels. So I've put a magnifying glass here because it answers what you need to search for. They're not right in front of you, like the retrieval questions. These are ones that you need to search for and you need to find the answer. So they're a little bit trickier. A lot of you in my class, I have given you the target of inference questions for your reading. So it is something we're focusing on in class at the moment. So let's move on. So when we've got inference questions, they tend to start with certain words. So why questions are normally inference. Right? Why did the character do this? Why does the character feel sad? So why questions? How? How do you think that, how does this make the character feel? How does this affect so-and-so? So we have a lot of how, do. So things about, do you think that the character was right? Do you think that this is going to happen next? So do questions and what as well. So you might have things like, what does the author mean by what do you think? Okay, so these sort of questions are all going to tell you their inference. So your task for today, you need to read page 63 up to the bottom of page 65. I have put this extract for you on the school website with the questions underneath so you can have a go at them. My idea for this is for you to pause this video, to go through and read the text, read all of them, have a go at answering the questions, and then we'll come back and I'll talk you through the answers. I think that's probably the best way of doing this. So your first job now is to go to the school website, find your work for today and have a go at it, and then come back here and we'll do it. We'll mark it together, sort of thing. Okay, so pause the video now and off you go. Have you done it? I hope you've done it. Let's move on. Okay, so what I've done is I've put the questions on the board and I've also put the text. I'm going to do it slightly differently to how I would normally answer questions. I'd normally just read it all and then we'd come back and answer the questions. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to read this page and then we're going to see which questions we can answer. So Zoe got up from her bunk, checking to see no one was watching her. She went back to the corridor where she'd spoken to Munchkin that morning. It was darker than ever now, and she stumbled.
I don't have an answer for that.
And she stumbled around for a long time. At last, her eyes got used to the darkness, and she could pick out a shape of the walls beside her, but still she couldn't find what she was looking for. She tried feeling her way all along the walls, but found nothing. She gave up. Sliding down the wall, she sat on the floor and decided to stay there for a while. The noises from Doobie's room were almost inaudible here, and that was something at least. She began to doze. Then, as if it was a dream, a line of light appeared in the darkness opposite her. She wondered if she had gone crazy as the beam of light grew in front of her eyes. It was only a few paces to the left of where she sat. It hung motionless in the air for a moment like a sword of fire, and then it grew out sideways at the top and the bottom and got fatter. Eventually, she realised what she was looking at. So why does Zoe go back to the corridor where she saw Munchkin? So why is she going back to there? What do we think she's doing there? Well, it's an inference question. It doesn't tell you why she's gone there. So a good guess would do. I mean, I think there's a couple of reasons. I think the main one is, she can't sleep and she's thinking about, she must be thinking a bit about what she saw earlier on. And she's going back there to see what Munchkin was doing, to try and find the room or where Munchkin went to. So she's looking for where Munchkin went yesterday. That's why she's gone back to the corridor. She's trying to find where Munchkin disappeared to. That's what she's looking for. I think that's the main reason. You might want to say, at the end of the last section, one of the cats was getting beaten up by Doobie. Perhaps that was one of the reasons why she want to leave. But I think the main reason is because she's trying to find out where Munchkin went and what happened there. Why can't Munchkin see Zoe? So, have we read that bit yet? Nope, because the Munchkin is not in it yet. It was a small door opening in the wall with a light behind. She was right. A moment later, she saw Munchkin step down from the door halfway up the wall. Zoe was terrified he'd see her, but Munchkin's eyes had been exposed to the flickering light of his candle. Right, so why can't Munchkin see Zoe? Well, it says that his eyes have been exposed to the flickering candlelight. So what that means is Munchkin has been looking at a light. So his eyes aren't adjusted to the dark yet. Whereas Zoe can see in the dark because she's been sat there in the dark for a while and her eyes have adjusted. Munchkin's eyes haven't adjusted, so he's a bit blinded by the light and therefore he can't see her. So it's because he's been looking at a light, he's been in a light room, his eyes haven't adjusted to the dark yet. And then it says she watches Munchkin carefully close the door behind him, and Zoe saw why she hadn't found it. Even straight at it, it was hard to see where the door was now that it was shut. As soon as Munchkin was convinced he'd shut it properly, he blew his candle out, and Zoe was sure this was something only he knew about, something he wanted to keep that way. He was moving extremely quietly and slowly, and from the care he had taken to make sure the door was invisible again, she knew that this was one thing no one else knew about, not even Doobie. So the next question, it says, how does Zoe know this room is something only Munchkin knows about? And I think the clue there for me is... So for me, the thing that tells you why it's a room is something that only Munchkin knows about is that it says he was convinced he'd shut it properly, so he checks it, and he blew his candle out, and Zoe was sure there was something only he knew about, something he wanted to keep that way. He was moving extremely quietly and slowly, and from the care he had taken to make sure the door was invisible again. So the reason why we know that this is something only Munchkin knows about is because he's been really careful to make sure he shuts the door properly. He's moving really quietly and slowly to make sure no one can hear him or see him. So he's taken a lot of care there to make sure that no one else can see it. If Doobie knew about it, he wouldn't need to be that careful, would he? So the fact that he is being so careful suggests that Doobie doesn't know about it. Right, let's keep working. Even as she sat there in the darkness, an idea came to her, and her heart started thumping so hard, Zoe thought Munchkin would hear it. He was so close that Zoe could smell the reek of smoke from the extinguished candle. She held her breath, thinking he was still there, but when she heard his feet shuffle at the end of the corridor, she realised that he had quietly walked away. Zoe thought for a moment. She felt that there might be a chance of a bargain to be had. If she could just find out why Munchkin's hideout was such a secret, she might be able to bargain with him to get him to tell her where Laika was being kept. In return, she wouldn't tell Doobie about Munchkin's hidey hole. But she couldn't do anything about it now. She didn't have a light. She'd have to come back when it was light, sometime when Munchkin was doing something else. So next question, it says, what do you think Zoe is going to do with the questions, do with this information? And it says there might be a chance of a bargain. And then she says, if she can find out why it's a secret, then she can bargain with him, get him to tell her where Laika is, and she wouldn't tell. So what she's saying is her plan is to sort of blackmail Munchkin into telling her where Laika is, and then she won't tell him about the hidey hole. So she's planning to blackmail him with that information. So let's keep going. Next question is about 65, so let's carry on reading. She put her hand out against the wall and counted her footsteps to the end of the corridor. She had to know how to find this place again, so she counted her steps so she can get back. The following morning, Doobie called everyone into the centre of the cathedral to make an announcement. He climbed up into the pulpit. We can expect an attack, he said. The spy was very helpful. He tells us that the cats are planning an attack in a few days' time, and we must be ready for it when it comes. I will be discussing preparations for our defences with Spat and Munchkin. When I have decided what we need to do, they will inform you of your jobs. That's all for now. Doobie, Munchkin, and Spat went off into Doobie's room. Zoe looked around. She saw Sarah and Molly standing nearby. Sarah was talking loudly about Spat, making sure that no one would forget he was her boyfriend, as if that were possible. Everyone seemed quite calm about the news, but Zoe's heart was racing, and then it stopped. Zoe had seen something that filled her with fear. Filled her with fear. She was watching Sarah showing off to the others, and then she saw her pull something on a cord from around her neck from inside of her dress. Attached to the cord was a pendant, a very unusual one. The cord it was strung on was normal enough, but the piece of jewellery itself was unmistakable. It was a big silver disc engraved with a pattern of the points of a compass, not just the 4 main points or the 4 more in between them. This compass had 16 big arrows and another 16 minor points. Zoe knew it in detail without needing to see it more closely because it had been her mother's. Sarah stood pretending to clean it, but really it was just part of an act. Okay, so what fills her with fear? So what does she see that fills her with fear? She sees that Sarah is wearing her mother's necklace, and that fills her with fear. Why does that scare her? Well, how has Sarah got the necklace? That's what's scaring her. It's how she might have got this necklace. So perhaps maybe she's thinking something bad's happened to her mum for her to get this necklace. It tells her that his mum was on this island and came across Sarah, which suggests something bad must have happened. Do you think it's the same necklace her mother had? Yes, why or why not? You can go either with this one. I think I would go for yes, because it says it was unmistakable. It's an unmistakable, and it's engraved. It's got these 16 points, 16 points on a compass. It's a very, very specific necklace. It's not like it's just a heart shaped. It's a very specific one, and there can't be many of them about. And she says that it's unmistakable, which tells you it must be the same one. A lot happens in this section. How does Zoe's mood change over the pages we have read? Use evidence from the text to support your answer. So how is her mood changing? Well, at the start of the bit we've read today, Zoe finds Munchkin. And when she finds him, I think she probably feels quite confident, quite happy. You know, she's got a way of sort of sorting out Munchkin and sorting out all of these issues. So I think at that point, she's feeling quite hopeful. I think when we get to this point here at the end, a lot changes for Zoe. And I think at this point, it says she gets a bit, she's scared. We know she's scared about this whole, her heart's thumping really hard when we're talking about the fact there's going to be this attack. And then straight after that, just to make this day even worse for Zoe, she sees the necklace, and that's when her heart stops, and she's scared. So at the end of this section, she's ending it really, really scared and fearful about her mum. Do you think Zoe's plan will work with Munchkin? Yes or no? You could say yes, because it's important. It was important to it's important to Munchkin to keep it a secret, so therefore he's going to be willing to trade it. You might say no, because if you think about it, who are you more scared of? Are you more scared of Zoe or of Doobie? Doobie. And if Doobie, what would Doobie do if Zoe escapes on Leica and it was Munchkin that told her? Then surely Doobie would be killing Munchkin. So, I mean, for Munchkin, that is terrifying. What he would do to him, surely he'd be less bothered about finding this secret hidey hole than he would be Doobie killing him. So I think you can argue it either way, but it's 3 marks. I think there's a lot of reasons why it won't work. I think, is Zoe really a blackmailer? Is she someone who will do this, who will actually tell Doobie and Munchkin? Do we believe that she's got that in her? Maybe not. Do we believe that Munchkin is scared of Zoe? No. Do we think that he's really scared of Doobie? Yeah. Do we think that Doobie would kill him if he helped her escape? Yeah. So I think that's got to be something we're thinking about in this section. Right, those are your questions for today. Send me your answers, whatever you've got, and I will look through them. We will look a little bit more at 3-mark questions when we get back to school, because I would like to do like a separate lesson on the 3-mark questions, because they are quite tricky to do. But when you know how to answer 3-mark questions, your world's your oyster. It's much easier. Anyway, we'll leave it like that. This has been your last lesson, hopefully online for a while. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for all the work and all the effort you've been putting in the last couple of weeks. You've really, really impressed me with your effort, your attitude. And I think you're going to do really well this year because of it. So well done, okay? And we will talk to you very soon. Bye.